today inside the program Good Morning Salon, Radio Democracy. They look at government, public, domestic and external debts and the impact where it gets on the economy and the national development. For sake of that, I want to welcome with studio guests them inside the program. I want to welcome Matthew Sandy, the Director of Public Debt Management at the Ministry of Finance. Good morning and welcome to the program Good Morning Salon.
Good morning, 98.1, and good morning to the Famboden at the Radio Land.
And also at the program, I want to welcome Cyril Django, a political and economic analyst. Good morning and welcome to the program, Cyril.
Good morning to everybody, and good morning to listeners and viewers on the Facebook and elsewhere.
And same way, so now the program we get Menkailu Kurma, we now representative from the All People's Congress APC party. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Good morning, 98.1. Good morning, the Republic of Salium. Delighted for you on the show.
Of course, we earlier this week or last week, the government announced say the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, we don't be one of the development partner, them don't announce new 38-month extended credit facility of about $253 million. And these people don't they ask about the debt situation of Salon and what this mean for the country in debt. Well, we said the country stand in terms of debt and what government they do for maintain or reduce debts. Make we get Matthew Sandy from the Public Debt Management and Ministry of Finance, and civil society and analysts themselves get concerned about the debt situation. Make we get Cyril Django at the program. And after this announcement, the opposition self get position on the country in current debt situation. Make we get Menkailu Kurma from the All People's Congress APC party for states the opposition position for sicker debt in the country. But I start with Matthew Sandy, Director of Public Debt Management na the Ministry of Finance. We go lay the basis of the discussion. Once again, good morning, Mr. Sandy, and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Now, let's look at the rule and the work of the Public Debt Management, now the Ministry of Finance, before we can look at the debt situation at the country.
Thank you. I think the role of the Public Debt Management Division of the Ministry of Finance is very simple. Now, we therefore support the government in financing, and we manage the total public debt. We include domestic and the debt that we government will contract from residents, where economists and call residents, the one that we at the country, and also from non-residents that are the one that we out of the country. So now we mobilize them, and as well now we also manage the payment of them debt then so they mobilize domestic and external resources, and then we manage the repayments. And not only that, we design policies and strategies on how for best reduce the cost and the risk of the public debt portfolio. So in summary, that is the role of the Public Debt Management Division, and we are guided by an Act of Parliament. But in all what we do, now we division, we do under a management framework. So we all day, with the report to the Honorable Minister of Finance. So we can lead we always in our Parliament. So that is the summary of our role in the Public Debt Management Division.
All right, you just don't tell listeners, but your office in role. But let me start for look at issues them we get for do with debt. Within at the current level of the country in domestic debt at this moment. Okay,
so the current level of the country in you say in total debt, you mean current level of the country in total debt would they really measure on the best international metric we use now in percent of GDP. Okay, so God just help we and partners them. We don't rebase the gross domestic products of the country, which is measured when I measure of all of the output of the economy. When you look with debt as a percent of GDP, it don't count to 46% of GDP, of the rebased GDP. Before the rebase now being 78.47. Okay, so 78.47, that was the pre-rebased debt to GDP. But after the rebased, because we look at the mining activities, we go on, we look at other economic activities in agriculture, feed salon, there's booming in activities going on, there's hope for booming activities going on. When you look at all of those, the rebased GDP make with debt to GDP it don't actually improve to 46 of GDP.
Now 46% of debt to GDP. What does this mean to the economy and the debt situation?
Well, that is really forward-looking, sustainable. Okay, it means say there is now confidence in the level of debt. In fact, if there's no confidence, you know, go reach agreement with certain partners. Then, in particular with IMF, if you debt overbloat, you therefore enter into restructuring, like how some of the neighboring countries have been go through recently, in particular Ghana. But because we debt to GDP relatively long-term sustainable, although we get certain risks, then we'll get to talk about. We have to be sincere. We get certain risks, then we'll go talk about. But the volume indicator, we are very comfortable. The debt to GDP of 46 actually 0.6%, if you want to be really exact. So with that, I think we're not to be too worried about a long-term sustainability. When you look at debt in a country, not to the current, okay, now the long-term sustainability of your debt. That is also way, you know, your debt stop the trajectory or also they go.
All right. So how the domestic debt don't they change over the past year?
Yes, the domestic debt don't they change over the past years. There's some amount of increase in the domestic debt, and that is the fact. But that no means say the overall debt stock, as I mentioned earlier, don't worsen. And so that is the only metric of the debt where we put now more attention to, you know, for manage. And why we do that? Let me give people the background of why domestic debt increased a little bit. Before, if you know, we all remember before the COVID-19 hit, you know, the country. 2018 going down to 2019, there was huge revenue mobilization. Where, if you remember, the target was we forgo towards almost 20% of revenue to GDP metric. So because of that, government not be need for go too much at the market, because there was a medium-term plan where government be implement. And when government not put a medium-term plan, they should be financed. Okay, when government not put a plan for instance the free quality education, it should be financed. And their source of financing they include revenue, when are a big factor. But there was a big hit on the revenue part. But we know talk say because there's a hit in the revenue, government in plan for collapse. Okay, so debt management is something where you for look at for the sake of waiting at the broad government objective. Okay, so during that period of the shock of the COVID, we just get to come in for smooth government activities, so that there will not be kids will go drop out of school. So starting keep services, and we just get to maintain them. There has to be the police operating. There should be the military operating, and even Ministry of Information and Communication. Even when I say there has to be people supporting your activity, and all other Ministry of Agriculture. So because of that, government will get for come in for close that gap there on the revenue side where the shock happened. So now make we say in the past 2-3 years there was some slight increase in the domestic debt.
So we can look at the domestic debts proper, who that government own, and the strategies them we government they put in place for reduce that domestic debt. But we look at one of the tools them we IMF and World Bank they use for track the sustainable performance of countries them who they don't do debt relief for. We Salona one of them, we IMF been do debt relief for during the COVID-19, and then we don't do debt sustainability analysis for Salon, and as of November 2023 shows say Salon public debt sustainable, but they at high risk of debt distress. What's in a debt distress, and what's in this mean? Okay,
so debt distress is measured by 4 main, I'll call them indicators them. So now 4 main for good we don't know what's in an indicator. Now 4 main number them we use for measure debt. The first one are the one I just announced, when are the public debt, the PV of public debt, or the present value of public debt to GDP ratio. we that one metric down there, and on that metric they perform well. Okay, so we did below the threshold for we debt carrying capacity, one of the international classification for we current measurements. On the PV of debt service to export, on debt service to export, one another metric, debt service to export, we are also comfortable there. So the first one, as I mentioned, are PV of debt to GDP. The second one are debt service to export. So we are also comfortable there. The next one, when we debt service to revenue. Debt service to revenue, now the way we know they do very well. So, and if a country know they do very well on debt service to revenue, you get what they call some liquidity challenge, and that no means say, I'm sorry, that no means say that is the end of the world. It just means no more we continue to collect more revenue. Okay, as a country, we will continue to collect more revenue, and with the now medium-term revenue mobilization strategy where the country gets, and where NRA also they help for implement, we hope say we go improve on we debt service to revenue. That are the only metric we make them say we debt sustainability there at high risk. That's the only metric, but all other metric them we are very okay, and we are under the threshold.
What in the poor performance of the Leones get on that liquidity, on the solvency? Okay,
so in fact, if you read the IMF press release, you will find out say there has been an arrest on the poor performance of the Leone. Before I go to that question, one of the metric they win because I measure four metric there. One of the metric they win actually the PV of debt to export ratio itself. So that the present value of debt to waiting the country they export. So we are also very comfortable in that area. So we get three metric then where as a country we pass. The only one way they give you small challenge now with debt service to revenue. So for come to your question in terms of exchange rate and the impact on we risk. Exchange rate yes gets impact on the risk. Now make way for we can do debt sustainability analysis. We always impose one particular shock in the calculation, in the international calculation, and that shock now we can call it one-time depreciation of the exchange rate, and that the standard shock now actually 30% shock in all countries when under the low-income countries debt sustainability framework analysis. So we can just impose 30% shock, even if there's no shock. Anytime they do DSA, we can just impose how that will impact on the debt sustainability. We've been suffer from that during the period of the transition for the denomination, and also combined with the with the COVID shock and the like. So we suffer from massive depreciation, but we don't exit from that side, and that is really confirmed by international partners. If you read the IMF press release, you will find out say we all, not only governments, APC, SLPP, 98.1, all the people in the country don't put effort together with the leadership of government for arrest that depreciation. So I think that is something that everybody should take credit for. Okay, but in particular the leadership of government. So it is very good when countries they work together for solve challenge. So for answer a question, that the impact of the exchange rate, it increased the debt stock, in particular external debt stock. It increase external debt stock. If there's any massive depreciation, it translates automatically to increase in the debt stock. But that will happen like 1 or 2 years ago. I make you see the debt to GDP it been actually ballooned in 2022. Okay, but we don't exit that part now. We don't get a stable part, and that is confirmed by partners. So now we actually seeing a smooth debt path.
Okay. Now you just explain wherein you say over the past year the country in domestic debt don't increase from one step to another. Now let me look at some of the key factors as a country waiting they cause some of them tier we make over the past year with debt they increase.
No, as I mentioned to you, the key factor really now then to make sure the way come it we okay. Revenue mobilization was really good if you look at the history, the cycle. Some of you don't think I don't see several programs. Actually, I could say 15 programs where IMF don't approve, both working in the Ministry of Finance and previously at the International Monetary Fund Resident Office as senior economist. So those, the period of the shock. Now there we actually see domestic debt increase, because that is really sensible. If any government is in power, if there's a shock, it better let you maintain state institutions, it better let you maintain critical services to government than you just hold your hand na the ear and talk say, there's a shock, I don't get revenue, and therefore people therefore die. Therefore, I can remember then and there was this how was it called? There was an initiative of the previous president, the APC president, and Kuruma. I think he had a health sector kind of initiative we've been calling free health bar also. So there was that shock as well during the in time during the Ebola. But we'll not talk say let all the hospitals them be vacant, from nurses. We just have to get some financing for continue for pay nurses, for continue for pay teachers. So that's the same thing. During the period of the COVID-19 shock, there was some shock on the revenue. Actually, when it was calculated, it was around $100 million shock in domestic revenue. So we will come in for closing that gap there. But you need to do them for a long time. If you do them for a long time, without partners do not come on board, it will lead to an unsustainable level. So I think that is one thing that we as debt managers, we get for coming for support any Minister of Finance for CC. Governments continue to implement programs that is calm, that is decorum in the country, and finances are actually supplied, but at the minimum cost, also at the minimum risk. I can stop there because I see you want for coming.
Yeah. Continue for the way to inside the program. We'll come back. We'll look at some policies where government put in place for handle that, and same also for know if state-owned enterprise then self don't contribute to the country in domestic debt.
I come to Minkailu Kurma before come to we analyst inside the program. When IMF announced new 38 months extended credit facility of about $253 million last week as part of the part of the country that the opposition get concerned with this and other debts them we the country. For listeners and viewers of Radio Democracy, Mikhailo, what's in our opposition the position on the public debts of the country?
We position always don't remain constant, and want to move for no in the first place. I know I agree with a lot of things that way the director say. I know say the director not a politician, he talk from a professional point of view, and in fact it all reference to waiting below obtained during APC time. I see the mention 2014 and clearly states say the economy be they do well until we get the twin shocks. That is, we know so been get Ebola at this country, and we been get the drop of iron ore sales now the world market. Now they be make the economy been get serious problem, even though the economy been they grow at a faster rate. And so you don't try for manage down there very well for explain to the public. But however, I want state to one clearly when I raise the question, say waiting at the factors and we responsible for increase in both external and domestic debt. I see it try for manage them very well, but I want state have initial say one of the reasons that we're responsible for them debts then they now because of wasteful spending. Where this government's been come, then tell we say a lot of leakages then they loopholes, then they try for facilitate for law begin use the single treasury account when our APC been commenced under Dr. Kelfala Mara, and that all government money for the inside one pot for block the leakages. But as time progresses, we see say the leakages where government be one block, government will block them. Instead, government create ways for spend boku money One, then create more employment will not be necessary. They establish a lot of ministries, departments, and agencies, and they establish other diplomatic missions. We mean say the country be they spend money too much more than we they earn. It reach a peak at the moment where even for low pay salaries, we get for borrow money at the domestic market for low pay salaries. Waiting government they get the enough for let they address recurrent expenditure, talk less of external expenditure, capital expenditure rather. So as a result, we only go depend on IMF, World Bank, and other institutions then for intervene and salvage the situation in Sierra Leone. Now we take a look at the budget, annual budget. Government the budget to a point that government not even get half of that money they for fund that budget. And also previous government they also depend on development partners and donors and for support budget. But right now they get serious constraints in terms of budgetary support. A lot of things and they way and notes where the director been the talk. But let's look at the most important one now. On the 20th September 2024, IMF will reach a staff level agreement on a new 38-month external credit facility arrangement with Sierra Leone and complete 2024 Article 4 mission. Now we see the first person for run commenting on this now, the chief minister. Where the chief minister go on social media and make audio on this, and we see PK Mwana the share. And we also see another social and political commentator, Dr. Sylvia Blyden, becoming the first for corrector. First on the structure of IMF, which I mentioned, say the president instead of the managing director, and a lot of things there. He also talked about tripartite recovery. It begs the question, waiting at tripartite recovery and waiting tripartite recovery get for do with this particular, discussion where the chief minister been try for put across. We also need for know say reasons and they will make IMF actually do this when at the credit facility. We for know say the credit facility IMF say it will support restoring stability through continued macroeconomic adjustment to address debt vulnerability, reduce inflation, and rebuild international reserves, booster inclusive growth and poverty reduction through structural reforms and targeted social spending, revitalize the reform agenda to strengthen the governance and institution, all advancing outlined in the country's medium-term development plan 2024 to 2030. So IMF don't summarize the reasons why make them make this intervention. So I don't see IMF states any side they say they go can put that money there for ensure say they do what we call tripartite recovery. So Sylvia Blyden was very apt for correct the minister. But again, this is sequential. I know alone if you say this increment just begin take place now. The increment don't take place from where SLPP can 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. It just the increase. The external debt just the increase as well as the internal debt. And Boku reasons are there for that day. I go can state the amount of money there, how it they increase step by step take to the level where they now. So for me, this is a bailout. Right. This is for salvage the current situation in Sierra Leone because of the kind of circumstance. It's very deplorable. Very recent report. We know speak to the fact say out of every 100 Sierra Leoneans, now only one person will able to determine what they eat, how for eat, when they want eat. He tell you say the poverty though it's deep into the fabric of this society. Okay. We for address collectively as a people.
All right, now Minkailu, from the opposition standpoint, the bailout according to you say IMF don't give Salone for 38 months. You don't think say they in place at this moment?
It in place. It in place not only for the government but for the people of this country. Nobody in the right sense is not going to say not in place. But I tell you the reasons that we go up to this level. Yeah, now they talk about inflation. What's really like inflation for a lot of people they understand now the rate at which the prices of basic commodities or commodities in general they increased within the period of time. What cause the increments by the prices of basic commodities? Now I don't want to let we always they say when we want to talk about the economy we need to go back. I get what and Eskroma talk about external debt now. Yeah? where I get for summarize before this program done. Now we know say APC be don comot on power from 2018. SLPP don't take over. It's about 7 years. Now we left for always they refer to APC whenever we want to address the economy. What the SLPP don't do from when they take over in 2018 to date? That should be the question. But I agree with you that the intervention day in place, it will salvage the situation, it will address beaucoup things in the country.
Now, when you start for talk, you say the debt level don't increase because of government expenditures.
Yeah.
Yes, and you talk about foreign embassies. But when you talk to government officials, you talk to the Minister of Information, you talk to any government person, they will tell you, say, the need foreign embassies for get rank to saloon relationship with the rest of the world, and new ministries them where government creates now for ensure say government work or activities then continue, and also then add more well-body workman them. These are the statements them on the thing that way government officials then will tell you say make the expenditure don't go up. You as possibly represent the opposition now the studio, you not agree to then
I completely disagree, because waiting government do more often than not now duplication. For example, we get the Ministry of the Environment, we get the Environment Protection Agency, we get a whole department now. We've been there ONS, when a disaster management department, I understand say right now, an independent body than they. So we get all the mechanisms then there was no need for the Ministry of the Environment, because we get Ministry of Land, where they work with the other agencies then they for address the environment. We get Ministry of Works, we also they make sure say they address issues we get for do the environment. There was no need for the creation of that ministry. We see boku. Why do you need to separate the Ministry of Information and Communication for like the Ministry of Information and Civic Education, Ministry of Communication and Innovation? It was unnecessary, because we already get department there, we get directorates the way they handle the areas and they. So you see, we create job for party loyalists. We create job, we not been get in mind the country say the country go starve. We see what we've been there. We've been get openings there. Opportunities been there in our Ministry of Education, about 400 jobs, NRA and other places, and Escoma, did not employ because we did manage the economy. There was a point to even say, now let government officials, they conduct government activities, now government facilities, let cut down government spending, they say we don't declare austerity in the country. Now, for answer your question, Musa, why make a very personal about this? When SLPP did the campaign in 2018, they say APC just they create ministries and departments unnecessarily. They say when they come, then go reduce them ministries and departments. So why now they come create more than what APC?
So you point at ministries them way governments don't create. Make I take you back
ministries,
to
departments and agencies.
Make I take you back to the APC era during Ernest Bai Koroma in term when it became the Ministry of Education, have been Ministry of Education, Science, Technology, Youth and Sports, but you can't separate them. It depends to the
No. That separation was necessary. Across the world, you get ministries of sports, we're independent. Let me tell you, waiting will lead to that arrangement for let them fuse them. We are just coming from the war. Tijan Kaba, he served this country well, but he not to enjoy in tenure, because in the first half of in tenure we still been there war. 1996 to 2002, the war end officially in January 2022, and so it was just too commonsensical for let them ministry and they at that point be fused. But you're not going to tell me say Ministry of Sports and Ministry of Education for be fused. No, if you separate that, it's justifiable. But Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry of Basic Education, it can be one ministry, then you get two deputy ministers and one minister where they oversee the entire ministry. You're not going to separate Ministry of Information and Communications. It don't make sense. You're not going to create Ministry of the Environment where you get EPA, you get a lot of other agencies there where they address the environment. It don't make sense. You're not going to employ too many people. Now NRA employ too many people now Ministry of Education. Just for create jobs for you party loyalists. It don't make sense. Because at the end of the day, you strain the budget where they address the nation's most important areas. Now, I read the director, they say, He said we go continue for collect more revenue. You know what thing this also will continue for create? If they continue for make the prices of commodities get for the goal. Because when say we they continue for collect more revenues, it means then they continue for enforce the tax system.
Right.
One of the things that we don't make businesses then they move from Sierra Leone to neighboring Liberia or Guinea are because of the increase in taxation. One of the things that we don't make commodities they don't there across the board now because of increase in taxation. We go come to basic commodity where people they consume on a daily basis, how they don't increase from 2018, 19, 20, 21 till 2024.
Okay.
If time permits me for do that.
All right, before we take break, let me just round up on this. We are in, you say government don't they waste money on different things, the way things are not necessary in terms of creating new ministries, embassies, and the rest. And again, you mentioned say the loophole where the president may promise say the tackle, you not see that. Now we get the single treasury account. You not think say this account don't they make government able to use some of the couple of them we don't they lost over the past year?
The single treasury account now a very good initiative. In fact, now we started under Dr. Kalifala Mara when he was Minister of Finance, yeah. But where this government can have been good initiative. Say Lord, we can't try for realizer now. But what is wrong is that even though we get the single treasury account, now few people now they siphon government money. Now you see most of the ministries, departments and agencies not get money for play around with. Today, most ministries and get your accounts there also money they can and do what they want to do. But now one of the things them back, we don't make government they spend too much. Now what do they spend per external trips for travel, international travel? You notice just in 2018 to 2023, President Bio spent more than waiting and spend from 2007 to 2017 per external trips and international trips. Now the figures and I'll bring them before we close. Yeah. Now the evidence is very clear. Nobody, I want anybody in a government for challenge me saying a lie. You understand?
But the president need for move.
Nah, I not say the president not for move, but it has to be very much well managed. That is the point. Nobody not say president not for travel, but you know for spend too many money per international trips, so you get beaucoup other things than back home for address. Most of them money they do for don't put up per agriculture. Most of them now we dey talking about feed salon. I mean the director will be talking about agricultural stroke feed salon. I mean we government they put more efforts back. Me now one post with the advocate say even budgetary allocation to agriculture is small because if now the flagship program of this government, them need for allocate more money to agriculture. So most of them money then they wouldn't use in international travel. Therefore, don't divert into agriculture, for example. I mean, now therefore don't help the country economy for money.
Continue for stay with
now
me.
There's the health sector, electricity, a lot there for address.
Continue for stay with me inside the program in Kailu Kroma from the All People's Congress APC party. We get Cyril Django, political and economic analyst. Good morning again and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies.
You don't be quiet for so long now. This studio don't get from the director of debt management, don't get from the representative of the All People's Congress APC party. Now the program as political and economic analyst. Today we look at Salon external and domestic debt and the impact we get on the economy and national development. As somebody when they follow national issues and the economy, what do you make up of the current Salon domestic Salon debt?
Well, let me first of all agree say for take debt for a country not a bad thing. Any country we want to develop can always be in debt. We can begin with the UK, with South Africa, with Ghana, with the US. The debt is a part of development in any country. In fact, even the US, they get over 100% debt of the total revenue they get as a country. But listening to the director of public debt, it explained to we exactly the scenario we did. Now, for million figures in a year, in 2022, we debt now being 57.12 billion. That is the new money. Otherwise, if you want to in the old currency, now be about 57.12 trillion. We look at in dollars in 2022 now something like 2.5 billion now we get as debt in 2022. But then when it comes to 2023, we find out the debt increased by 300 million, so go to 2.8 billion you see, and a massive.
That in dollar.
In dollars, yes. I mean, 2.8 billion in 2023 compared to the amount would have been 2.5 billion.
These are both domestic and external debt.
Yes, I mean, when you combine
Okay.
the all two together, yes.
So go ahead,
domestic and, now, the issue is the alarm we make myself calm because can for calm on the kind of issues in that is that 2022 when we collect all revenue we will collect to the denary, we've been pay 45% of that revenue the per debt, as is both public, I mean both domestic and foreign debt. And what the issue is now is alarming now because we are now being told by the report from this Matthew, because I think last week it came out a very powerful report, a very objective report. We say, in fact, what we collect revenue last year, 2023, the amount where we they pull for pay debt don't increase to 52%. So it means that we're spending only something like 45% on our own domestic and whatever needs them. Like we read the position talk about the development on this and that. We're spending much more now on servicing our debt, which is over 50%. That is for me an alarming trend for the ordinary man at home, because the last year budget we don't see this kind of scenario. And guess how we then do? How the Ministry of Finance been do? Instantly we see them begin for, we say, tax go rise in January, and then begin these things where we begin for all after waiting. Cement we normally have been nearly zero tax. We see how the thing change per week as consumers. We see how the rest we normally get tax begin attract tax. We see gas, I mean, we say don't be increase in tax. So government don't see the big debts we get, and decide to see the best way out for cover them in 2024 budgets now for increased tax on the people of Sierra Leone.
All right.
That's for me now the concern we get for say, okay, taking debt not bad, but then addressing the debt means taxing not necessarily the rich, because for me, one would have thought that in a scenario where you're going to raise taxes, you're going to look for the well-off, those who, I mean, wealthy. But when you have a broad-based taxation, that one really affects the macroeconomy, I mean, everybody. I mean, talk about res, talk about cement, talk about that's not a major concern. But however, if you listen to Matthew, it tells you one fantastic point. He say, even though it is very alarming, say we don't get a massive debt with the pay now, we as far as last year concerned, and about 2.8 billion. He say yet with debt to GDP, it don't actually go down in a sense that we did produce more last year than we produced in 2022.
All right.
Such that 2022 we debt to GDP, as is to say with total economic productivity, where you put it side by side with debt, now be 93.47%. Nine be that one day. But however, when you look at last year, we debt to GDP, I mean with total economic activity, and we debt being reduced to 78.45%. So it tells you say that in terms of economic development, in terms of production, we are seemingly producing more. And you heard him say that our exports to GDP is respectable. In other words, we are seemingly exporting more. My own concern is, yes, we could be exporting more, but are we exporting value? Or are we simply taking these raw materials? That is where you have the political economy, wherein you say, well, we need for ensure we add value to the raw materials, such that when we export, we do not export in the raw form, but we export with some serious secondary value. We will bring in more revenue to the country.
All right, Mr. Jengo. When the program starts, Mr. Sandisef don't explain about some of the issues we make with the get, increment on with debt. Same way, so Minkailu Sef mentioned from your own point, waiting are some of the key issues them we make over the past year with debt the increase day by day.
Well, now when you take debt, you expect say that you could see development across the board in terms of infrastructure, in terms of human capital development. But we are taking debt because you had Minkailu Kuruma that yes, taking debt is not bad, but you're taking debt for do things that we know they bring in the reality to the people. In terms of development, roads, healthcare facilities, less importing of rice, more value to our exports. When you look at those macroeconomic data in terms of infrastructure, we're still not there. Fita Unaya, the road is still very bad, lights is not stable. In terms of rest, we still, the area that we say, Sumabom, the structural part of it all, not really the growing of the crops. So it is a concern that while we're taking debt, the people not see the impact of this debt. So in any country,
so for
you take debt, that should be the impact.
So for you, the debts them, we government out don't they take? No, they reflect on the citizens at all.
Well, not to myself, no for ask, because you look at it generally. Now, if you watch the price for daily commodities, then they go up. If you look at the expenses of the ordinary man now, it gets a problem of having a stagnant salary, stagnant wage, while there is always government fiscal policy for increased tax, not targeting the wealthy, but targeting everybody. So even the budgets of the ordinary man is constrained. The ordinary man has to pay more for race. Last year, by the entire race, by bag, like around 600,000. Okay, 600 leones. But now it's risen to around 900 leones to nearly 1 million. He has to pay for that. You look at the other side of transport cost. Look at the issue of even paying bills for lights. It is spent far more. Not to be this year they increased the tariff for lights. So it creates a lot of pressure on people. Budget will not increase.
Now, when the president announced about this 38-month extended credit facility of $250 million now in social media platform, them, whether the chief minister announced or the press secretary announced, the comments of people that of mistrust that this no go benefit we as citizens them. So it don't reach that level where people not get trusting again in government for sake of the debts them within they take. Why or how you think so we reach here now?
Which are for big family they know. The rich man or the developed world, they don't care whether you activate the best interest of the people. All they want to know is, can you pay debts? Can you pay back our debts? Can you pay? And when they meet Matthew Sandy, they are coming to see how effective is the economic policy of the country for the one thing, for pay back their money. And so far so good. When you compare we to Ghana, to Nigeria, we debts now, we debts now 2.8 billion as of last year, really and truly. So for them, they don't care. When they come to your country to assess your economy, they have one focus: can this country pay our debts?
Then,
if not, you have to do structural adjustments. Where they recommend increase taxes on your people.
So this has been one debate over the past years. Where the citizens then believe said now IMF conditionality for make governments pull tax or stop for subsidized fuel, we make fuel price increase. And this have been positioned for one of the IMF visiting dignitaries some years back, where Dominic Durello say then they ask government for pull subsidy per fuel so that they no go the subsidized fuel for people and way they earn more.
Exactly. Now, when they look at your ability for pay, and if we watch the reports we didn't do last week, and so you say, then they watch, now EDSA that they watch. Then they watch, say, EDSA supposed for be able, for be very productive, for pay the debt. Then tell you say, EDSA still they lost plenty money. And the sign we will get now, for see how they go readjust is, the budget for this year, whether they can read the budget. It is likely that if the debt is still so high, then they are going to again find ways and means for increased taxes on the ordinary folks of the country. Okay. So last year, when NC say they don't take too much debt with the additional $300 million more debt, that was when you guys saw a budget when they talk about removing the subsidies on this, taxing things for the first time. Okay. Now, are we going to see this adjustment taking place again in this year's budget, where they will say, okay, let us still put more pressure on the poor people of this country? For me, like I said, debt is necessary, but you have to use this debt in a way that it will bring development. For me, it should be infrastructure. It will be our ability to reduce our food import bills.
Is it true that IMF conditionality they add on the suffering of any country?
The IMF is a business.
Okay.
They are not a non-governmental organization. Sierra Leone can pay its debt because when you look at a comparative debt level, ours is just about $3 billion. Whereas you talk about those of Nigeria could be over 50, 60 billion. But looking at the impact, because when you're talking about economic development, it is the ability for your people to be able to work and earn money. Now, not the economic development.
Okay.
People should be able to work and earn money, which means they could even pay taxes. But where there is less employment, there is less industrial development, and then you want to increase taxes.
Okay.
Guess what did they do? They want them to do very good business. I mean, them mobile companies, they have taken a huge brunt of the taxes there. Then they tax them heavily, far too much. But then look at the wrong side of it now. The mining sector is supposed to be our most productive sector in this country.
Okay.
Now, let's go to them, Kuwait, Azerbaijan.
All right, we can look at that, but shortly we take a break. We'll continue the program. Good morning, Salon.
They look at domestic and external debt and the impact on national development and on the economy. Inside the studio now, they come to Matthew Sandy, Director of Public Debt Management at the Ministry of Finance. Matthew Sandy, don't give background to Salon debt situation. Let me narrow down to domestic debt and external debt. Let's start with domestic debt. Would our government get for pay domestically, and within at the percentage of the domestic debts in the total debts of the country?
Okay, so the holders, because we can call them holders of domestic debt, you get different categories. Them you get the commercial banks. Them we now one big chunk of them of their own assets. So government they take financing from the different commercial banks. Then almost all commercial banks get investments in government securities. So then one big component. Then you also get, for instance, NACIT they invest also in government instruments. And then we also get the non-bank public. We call them non-bank when individuals like you, because me not get no investments in because of conflict of interest, and I never hold one Leone of treasury bill. So since we are born, I don't get treasury bill. So when I go check now, all them banks them. So una way not involved in debt management. Una can also invest. So government can owe you government can even own 98.1. So 98.1, if we get beaucoup money, we can also invest in government instruments. So that these are the main components of the domestic. But among them, there will get also one big component when the central bank. Okay, so the central bank also can also support government through certain operations. And the Banking Act actually give the central bank the power for advanced government up to 5% of the previous year's revenue. So over the years, they don't do the advances and they don't be.
That are the ways and means.
What are the ways and means? So that they back now one component of the domestic debt.
Now, how much do they talk about in terms of domestic debt?
Well, for the total, I will give you the figure actually in terms of the last stock. Okay, I'll give it's actually published, and I really my colleague Naya, Mr. Django, they talk about the different information that we get now website. I believe now website you get them. So the details are actually there, and I'll give you the numbers. But in terms of the share, I would say the commercial banks now they get the largest share in the debt portfolio, and then after that you get the central bank, then you get the non-bank. When we include Una way they invest in, and also NASIT and discount houses. You get discount houses as well as insurance companies.
We understand, say, inside 2023, state-owned enterprises debt was 36.54 million, and Saratel responsible for 80.71, winner 29.5 million, and also EDSA safe 19.16%, way about 7 million. Is it true about this particular figure?
Yes, it is true, and in fact now one irrelevant way we don't improve on we debt transparency. Debt transparency now one side way they can raise countries them on how they provide debt information to the public, and also how frequently and how accurately. So over the past 3 years, even over the past 5 years, where I don't be as director of public debt, we don't improve on the transparency in terms of publishing with debt statistics, and also make them available. In fact, most of the times we can even conduct with DSA or other debt information that we can invite even the CSOs. So you are right that the information is out there. We get Seratel. We get actually 80.7% of the total SOE debt. Then we also get the other winner EDSA, we did share around 19.16%. The other one them my value when just 0.13, so they're small.
Why the interest rates now on the treasury bill so high?
Okay, so to me now an indicator for say there should be some adjustment path going forward. So it's an indicator of future adjustment going to happen in future. The interest rate high because of the demand we currently dey. And I want to let listeners they know say since June last year, we will get disbursements from partners them inside towards the end of last year. From that time to now, government will get a single disbursement. So all the tranquility way they see in the country, all the energy supply way they get, and also the free quality education where they go on, and also all of the investment that we government do now, agriculture, domestic, and also all of the roads. All of these are from domestic resources. So now make you see say demand for liquidity, in government increase, and we operate a very I call them transparent market, okay, and the market efficient. We investors say government appetite high now, so they actually they bid high. But to be honest, the trajectory don't change. Now that we don't get a medium-term financing coming, beginning next month or beginning this month, the appetite for wind down. And if you look at, we're so transparent. If you go on our website, we don't also publish with annual borrowing plan. So in the annual borrowing plan, we see a little bit of front loading of financing, because we know say at this time we try for accumulate buffer, and we try for smooth government functions, ensure say there is tranquility in the country, there is peace for both sides of government. And we thank God for the tripartite I'll call a marriage will take place, and I believe so that it benefits we all.
Okay.
So because of that dynamic, we see the rates don't go up. But to be honest, in looking at the next few months, government appetite get for wind down because we don't get new financing.
Okay. Now let's look at we external debt.
Concessional financing of all the bilaterals. If any government kind of power, or any government in a power, I will encourage them, for get more financing from Korea. So that billion na government debt, and a government actually pay them, even when it is held by, even when it's managed or it benefits more the Freetown City Council.
Now, let we look at the interest of the debt here. Waiting at the interest rates of the debt, them we salon they take both external and internal.
Okay, so the interest rates are not uniform. Okay, across partners. Then each creditor gets in own terms, but most of them, for instance, World Bank, the interest rates they range now 0.5%. Then grace period most times 5 to 10 years, and then maturity now most times 40 years. So these are very concessional loan. For like the one I talk about, the Freetown City Council, in fact, the interest rate is actually lower than the World Bank. The grace period also higher than the World Bank, and maturity period also longer than the World Bank. So we combine, and that building they is more concessional than most financing we get from other partners there.
Okay.
So interest rates actually vary across different partners then. So I don't give you one interest rate for all. But if you look inside if you want to get a summary of the interest rate, we'll get a medium-term debt strategy, where we also don't publish two of Leone and they since I joined. So these are documents now written by us, okay, in the Ministry of Finance, not like in the past where we will call consultants, pay them good money. Now they pay.
Okay.
So if you look at the website, you go see that there are some medium-term debt strategy indicators there, and inside it, you go see actually the interest rate for the different categories.
Continue for the with me inside the program. In name na Matthew Sandin, the Director of Public Debt Management at the Ministry of Finance. We'll come over now to you, Minkailu. You just don't hear we are in the Director talk about the external debt when about 42.9 billion new loans, and same way so you mentioned about Sierra-Tel and EDSA when the institution and they supposed for generate money. Waiting now on a point on the external debt.
Yeah, the SLPP led government, if not government we been the actually listen, government a continuity, I agree. Now I make the director been forget a reflection to how economy be they do very well before we get the two shocks. So when we be hand over this country to the SLPP, we been tell them waiting at the status of external debt and how they for manage them. So if SLPP government be manager based on the advice where the former president be left, I think say by now we know for the day in that kind messy situation.
What the advice we former president?
Now President Koma, I mean, we be the hand over the country to President Bio. He tell us say under external debt, he say I have noted the concerns relating to external debt. Insofar as we have made considerable progress in increasing internal revenue generation, the reality is that Sierra Leone still needs external support for national development agenda while we continue to strengthen and grow the economy. Importantly, there has been unprecedented development in the country in every region, every district and every sector. This comes on the back of prudent management of our external debt through the conduct of annual debt sustainability analysis and the development of and implementation of medium-term debt management strategy. As a result, Sierra Leone's debt has remained without any high risks of debt distress throughout my tenure as president. So now this advice President Kuruma be left give President Bio, but unfortunately when the SLPP can not take heed to this advice, they not follow this because they no believe say government na continuity. So what's happen now? You been get a chronological increment in the external debt of the country. So I will just take you to 2020. In 2020, I mean the debt be increased to 27.1%, 0.1 trillion yuans. In 2021, 31.6 trillion yuans. In 2024, 47.5 trillion yuans. In 2023, 54.1 trillion yuans. So you see how the increment take place step by step. There is no uncertain time in which you can get stability in that increment and day. So that will create problem because we not follow due process. And I also tell when I say yes, Musa.
Michael, as we round up the program, as opposition, what's now a call to government in terms of strategies and tactics for ensure the debts sustainable that the country going further?
Now, as opposition, we always don't prefer advice to government, starting with the handing over note with President Kuruma be left. Just now been telling me and say the money, the amount of money they spend unnecessarily, they contribute to, even if they loan me money, we use not the appropriate way, they contribute to what we witness today. Now, when we start this conversation, I say government, they spend more on international trip. In fact, President Bio spent in his own just single term 2018 to 2023 past waiting and by Kuruma spent. Now, Sierra Leone, now when you take a look at Boko publications then, including credible media houses then, waiting and publishing advises government if they be taken, if I don't find. On February 6, 2023, we've been getting publication from the Africanist Press where say Sierra Leone President and First Lady withdrew over 71.4 billion as international travel per diem in 2022. No government in the history of this country no ever do that. All of that they contribute for let government start in other areas where they for don't use that money for address. Down that now just one. Now when you come to Kokorioko, it takes a high cost, low transparency, scrutinizing President Bio's frequent foreign trips. So not to let people be sit down and not they advise the president. Now I'm coming again. There's another publication which tells you Sierra Leone's president and first lady spent over 5.2 billion on December travel holidays. These will be published on January 5, 2021.
So you think so most of the debts that we government they take now on travel they go as you analyze?
Not all they go on travel, but most of them are on travel they go because some of them trips they are not necessary. That is why we get embassies there, we get foreign ministers. Some statutory okay. Like if you get UN Summit, Africa Union, ECOWAS, statutory travel there, okay, president can go. But the one that we know to statutory travel there, at least we get ambassadors there, we get high commissioners there, we get ministers there, because if the president is travel in entourage Kimboku, president is expected for let travel with people away for there around that, from insecurity to ADC and other people there. If not minister something and anyone or MP no more go. So we get for cut down on government expenditure on a lot of them things and day. Otherwise the country not go get stable economy and go affect we seriously.
Thank you very much, Michael Kuruma, for joining me at the edition of the program. He represents the All People's Congress APC party. Now the program Good Morning Salon, we look at saloon domestic and external debt and the impact on the economy and national development. I come to Cyril Django, political and economic analyst. What do you think say governments need for do now in terms of strategy for ensure say public debts sustainable?
Okay, governments if we try for ensure say the feed salon projects for succeed pauper, because if you succeed it means a reduction in our expenditure using forex for import food items. Government for sure say the machine with them done the shape across the country from last year to now. All man accounts for them and then show them productivity. Because if you they give away these, okay, if you they lend them machinery, then tractors to farmers them, and they become much more political, then there will be no consequences, and then it affects the ability for produce more. Government for also reduce on the traveling of in people them, because the traveling is not going to be spent in leones. It's going to mean looking for the dollar. And crucially, government for continue for ensure say inflation still stable, because I'm so happy that between last year October and August this year, from 55% inflation in October last year, it don't come down to 25% this year. And I was shocked, because normally I always check on the inflation from the banks, look at the dollar to the leone. 2 weeks ago, $1 was around 25 leones, and I was shocked last week when I go, it don't go down to 23 leones. So having stable inflationary pressures is very good for salaries, it's very good for importers, it's very good for exporters, it's very good for the common man, because it may say things will be largely stable in prices. So government should continue for ensure that they put effort for reduce inflation. And normally inflation not can reduce necessarily, but I was shocked for CC that is consistent policy in place for CC the leone get value. Perhaps I can even commend Mr. Matthew for see well done, because he don't say that they know they ever take debts for 1 year where they cost $100 million. I hope so you keep to that promise they for see all debts them not for cost $100 million.
From time to time we will recall with you in the studio. Over to you, Mr. Sandy. We not get better time again inside the program. Waiting at the policy the government they put in place for make sure say some of this with debts there no go pass.
Number one, what my colleague say, Mr. Django, he don't read them. We remain committed to only contracting concessional loans and meeting the annual debt ceiling we'll get when our $100 million of external debt per annum. And in fact, last year we just contract way below than around $65 million. So we maintain that, and also we continue for be consistent in servicing with debt. And I want to announce to the people them say over the past 2 years we don't even repay more of the external debt than with the contract. Okay, so if you look now with debt statistics, you go see and clearly that we continue for repay with debt than with the contract. And in addition, we want for just let we encourage the general public for continue for for pay you really tax where you need for pay to government, because if you not pay, if you dodge them, then you they make it difficult for the government able for service in debt. So now then because why I mentioned about revenue, because now the main area and the way only where we know they perform in terms of we debt service. And Mr. Django don't note as well, say the economic activities are buoyant, and taxes are increasing, but we can't forget the tax buoyancy for also increase. That means we revenue to GDP get for increase. So then that's why I go out for encourage. We always listen when I say join for let we manage this debt.
Me producer they say me could come buy airtime finance hour for talk about issues like that. Anyway, we did round up the program now, Matthew Sandy. We had review the 2011 Debt Management Act, and one of the things that we ban been they propose for sake of transparency and accountability, and for ensure say they publish on the debt them way government they take and engage different stakeholders then before government engage in debts. How far we debt suggestions and in the review of the 2011 Debt Management Act?
Yeah, we did far advanced. We get funds for do that. We don't almost contract the consultant, so that is in place. In terms of with publication, we actually advance on that. I can just display this one. It is really now we website now. Then we publish the bulletin for 2023. It's on our website, and that now the most transparent we can actually think about. And not only that, the medium-term debt strategy really tell we how we want to contract over the medium term, and also we don't set target for we set in terms of that did not actually happen over the past years. Okay, but another winner professional institution we need to compare ourselves to different government. But one point I want to mention is government only contract debts for presidential travels. Okay, presidential travels are financed by the budget. If you look at the sectors, then where with debt, they go page 11 of this bulletin, it show you clearly say government debt, it go towards energy, where now they enjoy, it go towards agriculture, when now with the hope forget feed salon, it go towards road construction, and we don't see a lot of roads being done.
Okay.
So it go towards mainly infrastructure, and then the largest one are for address macroeconomic issues.
Okay.
When we just don't get recently $253 million. So those are where government debts they actually go for address. Not presidential travel now small bit money for government. Okay. Really, to be honest.
Okay, continue. Plenty thank you for joining me inside the program this morning. Name Namachi Sandina, the Director of Public Debt Management, Ministry of Finance. As today we made a look about the country in debt and other issues. Same way so inside the studio we get Siri Django, when our economic and political analyst as himself done talk about some of the things them way he want for. Same way so we get Minkailu Kuma, we a representative from the APC party.